Hi, thank you for coming out and joining me on the New Era YouTube channel. My name is Paul, and I'll be your host today as we talk about SAE BAT A. We'll spend maybe 15 minutes together, a bit of time in a PowerPoint presentation building a little background about SAE in general, and then we'll jump into a demonstration of a web-based interface to the inspection logs and baselines that are created by SAE BAT A. So let's get started. I'll share my screen and I'll bring up that PowerPoint and just briefly explain that SAE BAT A is like other processes that we have that are used for inspection, like ICE BAT A or IPL check. It differs from our Sysplex inspector in that the Sysplex inspector goes on and inspects the coupling facility and then looks at the individual parms of the LPARs that are within the Sysplex to determine their commonality when that's necessary or their uniqueness when that's necessary to figure out whether or not they can actually become and join the Sysplex as a good citizen. What SAE BAT A does in addition is it creates baselines that can be accessed by the standalone environment, SAE, from the integrated console of the HMC and targeted against specific LPARs to determine whether or not that LPAR's configuration may have changed in such a way as to potentially cause a failure during IPL or help to correct a failure that already has occurred. Very powerful, the subject of another video that's out here on YouTube. Today, however, we're going to build this dashboard. The dashboard is built by ICE Direct directly from information that is provided by SAE BAT A. So let me go ahead and terminate this show, and I'll fire up a browser, and I'll click this little button, which will take us to ZOSMF. And you'll notice here that when I click my user ID, the browser fills in my user ID and password. This is not good. Don't do that. Turn that autofill function off. I'll go ahead and log in. This means I'm authenticating with ZOS. The authentication process is such that my preference was to go to the desktop view. We're in the links desktop. But I want to go ahead and show you the classic view. This is the hierarchical view of the ZOSMF interface. Here's ICE Direct here. Here's ShopZ. Here's support for ZOS, etc. So ICE Direct is fully integrated into ZOSMF. That integration process doesn't take much more than 10 to 15 minutes to accomplish, but it benefits ICE Direct measurably in the sense that it now resides with the same level of security that is necessary for authenticating it with ZOS. So when I click on ICE Direct, however, we'll see that we're going to have to go through another level of authentication. Again, my user ID and password have been auto-filled for me. Not a good thing, but I'm using it only to illustrate a point here. When I click Authenticate, what's going to happen is that I'm going to receive a one-time token from the system that is another form of multi-factor authentication that overcomes any issues that are associated with autofill. I'll go ahead and add that in here. And this is now additional authentication, multi-factor authentication, if you would, using that token. This is the primary view of the ICE Direct environment. We have 3 iframes, a sidebar, a directs iframe up here at the top, and the results iframe here at the bottom. There are a number of functions here that support access to information that is readily available in the integrity controls environment. ICE also houses SAEs, logs, and baselines. And so clicking on My SAE will bring up a sub-menu, if you would, that gives me access to those logs. I can go directly to a set of logs if I choose to follow the default naming convention. I can switch to an alternative dataset naming convention if I choose to do that. But I can also set up a worksheet that will allow me to specifically name in an ad hoc way the data sets that contain the inspection logs and baselines that are associated with the ICE BAT process itself. What can I do here once I'm in this little dashboard? I could, for example, launch SAE BAT-A, assuming I have appropriate read access to the Opera command class, that is. I can go directly to an inspection report by clicking on Findings. And once I'm in the findings, I can click on a specific, in this case, warning on line 142. And go directly to that warning. Here it is here. We go 50 lines above and 50 lines below the targeted line just to show that there may be other issues at hand that need to be dealt with. This one has to do with the integrity that surrounds the protections of this particular data set. So not necessarily a syntax or value problem, but one that's associated with integrity. If I click on an error, and this one dealing with Paget, take me directly to that line in the report saying that, yes, here's a keyword that's unknown to our system that needs to have some action taken to correct it. We have other ways of looking at the inspections by combining them with the blueprints themselves. I clicked on those little gears. Patience is a virtue when it comes to ICE Direct on the web. It's about as fast as ZOSMF is in most cases, but it is doing a lot of work, so be patient when you use it. We are showing these members in the order in which they're processed during the IPL. So the ones in yellow are processed during NIPS. The ones in blue are processed during IEA-SIS processing. The ones in green are those that are related to processes after ZOS becomes fully initialized, typically related to subsystems like JES, VTAM, TCP/IP, CICS, Pageant, and others. We can select these that demonstrate problems like this particular BPX PRM. We'll see the member. In this case, there's no particular issue with the member itself, but again, we have an integrity problem because the data sets appear to be poorly profiled. It's a development system, so that's to be expected. To the right, we can click on dataset member listing. This will list the members as they actually currently appear in the dataset. That's our target. Here they are. We can relist them in order of last update. So the ones that were last updated will be shown at the top of the list. This can be useful for forensic and for understanding who's doing what to whom. And we can see this IEA-SIS WS was the last, most recent member updated. We can click it. And we can actually bring back the content of that member and display it here in the browser. We can perform similar tasks as it relates to the control journal. This is an integration of our inspection processes with the control editor. And we can wildcard this. I'll put a asterisk there, click this to tell it to only look for those. And it'll go off, query the journal, and bring back a donut in this case. There's lots of graphical presentations in this. There's lots of reporting presentations, just a matter of what you choose and elect to use. And click on it. All the segments of the graphical presentations are all hot linked. We can look at the actual member as it appears in the journal. So lots of different things that can be done here. The interface is extremely flexible, allowing you to, for example, pick one. And then perform a process called baselining, where you can actually baseline an inspection report and compare it against the current one with functions that point out shared DASD, common data sets, prevailing members that are in common, IEA-CIS comparisons, and inspection findings, all of which are things that might be of interest to you. You can update the baselines at essentially any time. So there are a number of other things that can be done here. You can go directly to any element. You can go directly to these notices. You don't have to display the entire list. And then, of course, you can drill down into the actual notice itself in the context of the full inspection report. Okay, so I think you get the general idea of this. I'm really happy we got a chance to spend a little bit of time together. I'll go back to wind up this PowerPoint thing just to point out a couple of things. We do have other YouTube videos out here. Important ones are IFO BG configuration. This one was given by Glenn Bagsby, my colleague. He's the expert in that area. The other one is IFO BG Sysplex inspection. This is a discussion about ICE Direct and its interface to Sysplex inspections themselves. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope to see you out here again soon.